And we'll also meet the star of this week's #1 movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Do you know what the #1 box office movie in the country was last week?
Due to the fact that I'm doing this interview, I do know.
Also, it's written down in front of us. It helps. But #1 last week was A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3. It opened last week. It broke box office records. It became the #1 movie in the country last week. It is a horror film with a cult following around the world. And Freddy's back. We're going to meet the actor who plays him in just a few minutes. It's now 7:49. The star of the nation's #1 box office hit, Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3, after this.
It is now 7:51. First there was Nightmare on Elm Street. Then there was Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Now, just when you thought it was safe to get back in the theater, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, called Dream Warriors, the #1 movie in the country last week. In Syracuse, they called in the mounted police to control the crowds at theaters. Out in Los Angeles, they chanted, "Freddy, Freddy." They all went up in cheers, all because of the movie's razor-gloved madman named Freddy Krueger. Watch this if you dare.
Welcome home, Darren. Look familiar.
Okay. Let's dance.
Why should we fight? We're old friends, you and I.
And joining us this morning from Los Angeles is Freddy, known to his friends as Robert Englund. Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Joan?
All right. I'm great. But this movie, the biggest opening ever for an independent film. Did you realize this was going to be this big?
No one was more surprised than I was. I did the first one as sort of a lark. I was doing the television series V, and I had a hiatus between the miniseries and the series, and I was able to fit in Nightmare Part 1, and I had no idea it was going to take off like this.
Give me your description of Freddy Krueger.
Freddy is a sort of a combination of the old revenge resurrection mythology. Basically, two wrongs don't make a right, and Freddy was also wronged, as well as the crimes he committed. So he's back wreaking havoc, you know, and until someone can bury him finally.
The makeup is unbelievable. How long did that, was it really tough to get into that makeup?
Yeah, the putting it on and taking it off is a pain. It's a healthy 3.5 to 4 hours. Once it's on, it's not a problem. It's designed so well. Kevin Yeager has designed it very light. It's foam latex, and the wearing it is not a problem. But if they wrap me late at night and promise me that I have a late call the next day, and then they renege on that, and I have to be called in early, it's pretty awful, because I usually tear that stuff off as soon as I can when they tell me I can go home, and putting it back on raw skin in the morning is not a lot of fun.
Do you have a hand there or something with you? What do you have with you?
Did you see it a little bit? I was trying
to
keep it out of frame. Yes. Just a man about town.
That's right. Well, did you leave all this garb on and you know, go to the lunchroom and things all day long?
Actually, when we were shooting Nightmare 1, the crew and the people that I work with get very blasé about the way I look because they get used to working with me day in and day out. And we got kind of sick of the catered food one day, and we all went across the street. We were shooting at the old Desi-Lou where they shot I Love Lucy and Make Room for Daddy and everything. We all ran across the street in Hollywood to this Thai restaurant, and forgetting that I was in complete Freddy drag. And we walked in the restaurant, and just as we walked in, the owner came out of the kitchen through the swinging doors and just turned on his heel and went right back in the kitchen. I'm sure he's still back with his ancestors.
He lost his cool on that one.
Yes, we scarred him for life, yeah.
Well, is this okay for little kids to see?
Nah, I wouldn't recommend it to kids at all. No, if I had a kid, I wouldn't let them see it. But
it's heavy, scary.
Very scary. There seems to be a sort of a cutoff line in the early teens. A lot of 14 and 15-year-olds that aren't supposed to see it have had their tongues sort of firmly entrenched in their cheeks and watch it with a kind of sense of humor that we intend. So it's not bad for them, but I wouldn't let kids go near it, no.
And you come from a Shakespearean background. How surprised were your family and your friends when your career took this sharp left over here?
Well, my mom and dad had to go through a whole period of me being quite the snob. I was a classically trained actor and had done just about all the clowns in Shakespeare before I turned 25. And I didn't want to do films or TV, then that was like beneath me. This is sort of a phase I had gone through, and I think it's a little strange for my mom all of a sudden to have, you know, my son, the Shakespearean actor, turn into my son, the monster, you know, and all the neighborhood
throngs
kids
are following the monster.
Exactly, yeah.
There's something to be said for box office, right?
Yes, something to be said. Some of my parents' friends would send my mom these pictures of me from some of the fan magazines, and I hadn't even seen some of these photos, but she'd get them in the mail with these requests to get Robert to sign them, and she'd open them up, and there would be pictures of me devouring legs and stuff. So.
Okay, Mom, just kidding, right?
Yeah,
Robert,
right.
good to
okay,
see
Mom,
you.
yeah, don't look, just forward them to me.
Good luck with the movie. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Stay with us.